How many of you have ever heard of a first world problem? Have you ever heard the phrase first world problem? Ask somebody near you, have you ever heard of a first world problem? Ever heard that? I'm seeing some yes, I'm seeing some no. Well, I read about 100 of them last week, and they're pretty funny because they're not actually problems. Maybe inconveniences, but if you were worried about where your next meal was coming from, you would not consider these things a problem at all. But when you live in a society when you got the basics kind of covered, how many knows little things sometimes become big things, and they become inconveniences, become problems, and some of them are hilarious because they're actually true. This is stuff that really does annoy us. I'm gonna give you a couple of for instances. I had a real good time looking these up this week. For instance, I am so hungry, but I don't want to cook. Crisis situation. Call the counselor, and yet some of you have been annoyed by that. You got all the ingredients, but you just don't want to do the work. Here's another one. There's nothing to drink at home except an unlimited supply of fresh drinking water. That's all we got. Now, that used to be an actual crisis situation in my home because if them kids drank their mama's last Diet Dr. Pepper, it was going to be problems. First, they were going to have to face her because they drank the last soda, and then they're going to have to face me because now I got to go out no matter what time of night it is and get more Diet Dr. Pepper. That was a problem. Since then, she's decided we all need to drink more water, and everybody's just more relaxed these days. So here's another one. There's not enough dressing on my salad, so my salad tastes like salad. Come on now. And you have, bring on the ranch, give me some more cheese, croutons. Yep. How about this one? There's too much ice in my iced coffee from Starbucks. You thought it. Some of you have said it, and you've handed it back, and the person at the other side of the counter was going, with iced coffee, we have. We're getting to the good ones now. I actually saw this in action last night. I want the food in the back of the fridge, but the food in the front of the fridge is blocking the way. And we just sit there looking. I came on one of my sons last night. I walked in the kitchen, and he's just staring at the refrigerator. I'm going, what are you doing, son? Well, the pot roast was in front of the milk, and he wanted the milk, and it was just a crisis situation. So okay, here's what we do. We just kind of move it. Now, this one's my personal favorite. Somebody ate a hot dog without a bun, and now we got more hot dogs than we got buns, and somebody's going to have to use that dreaded slice of bread, and it's not the right texture, and the chili gets everywhere. Yeah, first world problems. First world problems. Last but not least, I don't know what to post first on social media today. Latest selfie, picture of breakfast, picture of pet, OOTD, which for all of you disconnected, unsocial media people like me means outfit of the day. And I hear it's a real struggle, just real deep. Should I post a deep thought? And some people, the struggle is so real for this one that they just put it all on there. The meal, the new shoes, the breakfast, the OOTD, the problem they had this week, last week, the week before, last week, just all of it. And we call those people oversharers, and that's another first world problem. And that's when you say more than you should on social media, and we've had a lot of people definitely fall into that trap over the years. I wonder if you've ever seen somebody post about a situation they're going through that's tough, or that's hurtful, or that's deeply personal, and you thought to yourself, why in the world would you put that on here? Don't you have somebody you could call? Don't you have somebody you could have a conversation? Do you want to put those comments where everybody can see it? And at times, we put that down to a lack of character, or maybe a lack of wisdom. And we think, somebody needs to teach them what's appropriate to say online and what's not appropriate to say. And there's definitely some truth in that. But can I tell you that many times the problem isn't just a lack of wisdom, it's a lack of real, solid, meaningful relationships. It's a lack of community. There really isn't anybody to talk to about it, so they talk to everybody about it. There really isn't anybody to go to for encouragement, so they go to encouragement from everybody. There's no one to give real support, so they go looking for support wherever they can find it. They settle for virtual support from virtual friends because there's very little real relational support from real friends, from real community. You know, the latest data from Google would back that up. Not too long ago, I read about some researchers that were conducting a study of the kinds of things that you and I put into Google's search engine, and they were looking at millions, however many they could look at over several months' time of things people are putting into Google, and they found this rising trend. People aren't just asking Google questions anymore. They're making statements. Actually, it's deeper than that. They are sharing their feelings and their fears with a search engine. They're looking for counsel and direction from an algorithm. They're typing in things like, I'm lonely, and I'm afraid, and I'm depressed, and I'm worried I might have cancer, and I'm losing my home, and I don't know what decision to make, or they're typing in, my marriage is failing. They're typing in things like that. And again, we might say, hey, isn't there somebody you could go to? I mean, is there not somebody that would give you a hug and just tell you that things are going to be okay? Somebody that could listen to your worries and just give you reassurance, let you know that you're loved. And for a lot of people in the world, the honest answer, the really honest one, is no. The honest answer for a lot of people is when I need to talk to somebody about where I'm really living, what I'm really dealing with, what I'm really facing, the serious stuff, the stuff that counts. For a lot of people, the honest answer is there's nobody for that. There's nobody. I got a lot of options for surface conversations. I can talk to a lot of people about the sports scores and things my kids are doing and hobbies I have and my next home improvement project, all that kind of stuff, the car, the house that I'm looking to buy. But the deep stuff, no. The honest answer for a lot of them would be, I'm married and I feel incredibly alone. The honest answer for a lot of people would be, I'm successful and I feel incredibly alone. I'm in crowded rooms all the time and I feel incredibly alone. I'm on every social media platform you could name and some you couldn't, and I feel incredibly alone. Here's the painful truth for a lot of people in the world today. When they come to life's toughest moments, there's nobody there to share the burden. There's nobody there to hear the hurt. There's nobody there to offer the encouragement. And when they come to life's greatest moments, there's nobody there to share the joy. There's nobody there to celebrate the achievements. Nobody there to cheer them on. They're in crowds all the time, but they have no real community. And some of you right now are thinking, Brother Andy, you're right. It's tough out there in the world. Thank goodness that when people come into the church, they automatically gain a community. Thank goodness when you join a church, you're automatically guaranteed deep relationships. And you're clapping, and there's something to clap about. But let me tell you the honest truth. When you come into a church, you have the opportunity to engage in deep relationships. You have the opportunity to have a community, but ultimately, that's a choice that's left up to every individual because community can never be forced. It has to be chosen. You can't force people to know and be known by people. You can't do that. Can't force people to enter into deep, meaningful relationships. Somebody's got to make some actual time and effort to build those kind of relationships, to support them. It takes effort. Community is not automatic. In fact, it takes a good bit of work. If you stepped in the doors of this church for the first time today, I want you to know that you've walked into a place where there's incredible opportunity for community. These are some of the most open, godly, loving, caring people that I've ever met on planet Earth. I don't know of a better place to look for godly, meaningful, rich relationships. You have the opportunity to form relationships here that will sustain you through any storm that life can throw at you. I know because I've been there from experience. When I lost a dad and I went through the valley of the shadow of death, I didn't go through it alone. People were around me. When I battled cancer and a doctor told me I had leukemia, from the first moment it came out the doctor's mouth, I had phone calls and prayer and anointing and conversations and dinner. What do you need? How can we surround you? How can we support you? And some of you are standing because you got the same story. When you were up, people were around you to celebrate you. When you were down, they lifted you up and encouraged you. You benefited from the blessing of community. I was sitting right back there last week when at the close of worship, our pastor came up and he was talking about the series of losses the precious loved ones that have gone on to be with the Lord in just the last little time. And speaking of worship, he said, this is how I fight my battle. And I felt two things almost simultaneously. The first one is I felt the Spirit of the Lord come rushing into this place to give comfort and strength. But right behind it, I felt the Spirit of the people rise up and get behind their pastor and say, when you hurt, we hurt. We want you to know that we're with you. When you walk through the valley, so do we. When you need prayer, we're going to be right there. You've been there for us time and time and time again. And it's an honor and a privilege to say, Pastor, we love you. We've got your back. We're here to encourage you. I want to tell you, you can't get that by staying distant from the body. You got to come into community for support like that. Thank God for online church, all that it offers, but it's not a substitute for a community. Thank God for a podcast you can listen to in your car, but that's not a substitute. It's not a substitute for real community. Don't miss out on the fact that serving God comes with two big benefits this side of heaven. The first one we know is you get to walk through life with God. But the second one, you get to walk through life with the people of God. And we know the value of the first, but I sometimes wonder if we either forget or we forego the value of the second one. I sometimes wonder whether we forget, all the good things that I mentioned before that you were standing on your feet about. All those things are things that happen in the context of community. They don't happen in the context of a crowd. Crowd and community, two very, very different things. This summer, I had a couple of firsts. Did a couple of things I never done before, which is pretty new for me because I'm a pretty regular routine guy. So one of the first things that we did is it was the first time I ever went to a lake house for vacation. The lake thing was pretty new to me. I'm an ocean guy. We usually go to the same place every year, and I would do the same things, eat at the same restaurants with the same routine, and I would be one happy fella. That's fine with me, but God blessed me with a wife that likes some variety in her life. So she got together with our adventure buddies, the Pope family. I should tell the truth. She got together with Cheryl because Chip and I don't ever plan nothing. We just show up. They tell us, you're going to New York. And we go, okay, we're going. Well, they told us we're going to the lake. And one of the very first things that I learned about a trip to the lake is when you go to the lake, you better bring whatever you hope to do for fun with you. You better bring it with you because there's nothing at the lake but the lake. That's what you got. You went to the lake, you got a lake. I noticed that as we were approaching our destination, there was two things in reasonable driving distance from the house we were staying at. There was a Dollar General and there was a gas station. And if you couldn't get it from the Dollar General or the gas station, you weren't getting it. You came to the lake, go to the lake. I also noticed that about 10 minutes from the house, cell signal dropped. So if there was something fun to do, you ain't got no signal to look for it. You're at the lake. They didn't even have a working landline in the house. And here we are, first world problems again, right? You got a lake. Well, all of that happens to be fine with me because if I got a place that I can go talk to the Lord in the morning, and if I got something heavy around that I can lift and make me feel like I worked out, and if I got a halfway decent, comfortable chair that I can sit in and read books and watch Chip fish because that's relaxing for me. I don't want to fish. I just want to watch him do it. If I can do all that stuff, I'm good. But once again, God has blessed me with a wife that has a very different idea of what vacation should be. What I call relaxation, she calls sitting around doing nothing. And she can do it pleasantly for about a day. And about day 2, that starts to get stretched. But about the third day, something's got to give. Things need to change. Something is going to happen. And so it was on day number 3, she tells me, Andy, get the children, go to the car. I will meet you there. We are going exploring. So I very reluctantly left my comfortable chair and my book that I was reading, and we went to the car to go exploring. And we drive, and we drive, and we drive, and we saw nothing. Not a school, not a business, not a park. I feel like I'm in a Dr. Seuss poem. Not a house, not a mouse. We drove, and we drove, and we saw fields, and honestly, both of us were getting more irritated by the moment. I'm getting irritated because I left a very good, comfortable chair and a book to come out here and stare at fields. She's getting irritated because she was certain that we would find something fun to do, and my wife is perpetually convinced that things are going to work out. And you know what? Usually she's right. It did not appear to be the case at this time. So around about the hour and 20-minute mark, she finally gives up, and she says, just take me to the Dollar General. Just. And as a very smart husband, in that moment when I wanted to say, I told you so, I said nothing. I just turned the car around, entered the Dollar General GPS, and here we go. So we go to the Dollar General, and we found the people, y'all. I mean, we found all of the people. I do mean all of them. I should mention this was the 4th of July. We found all. We had just happened upon the place in this little town where they conduct their fireworks show every year. Once again, her sense of optimism. It'll work out. Well, it did, you know. So what a surprise. It took place in front of the only 2 buildings in the whole town. So people are everywhere. You know, there's a crowd, huge crowd. My wife is thrilled about this because this is the spontaneous type of thing she just loves. To me, this is a nightmare because all I can think is when this is over, how are we going to get out of this place? This is going to be a huge traffic jam. But being the good husband that I am, coasted on in, found a place to park, and we joined the crowd. And we were there for about 2 hours, and I maybe talked to about 3 people besides my family in that 2 hours for maybe a total of 45 seconds. I greeted everybody around us, you know, nice thing. Asked, you know, what time does the show start? Where the fireworks going to be at? Just need to know information, not real conversation, because you don't have real conversations in crowds. That's not why you go to a crowd. You're there to experience the event, not the people around you. You're there for the show, not for them. You know, we even donated to next year's fireworks show that I'm sure we're not going to be at. And I kind of have some suspicions that we may not have because the gentlemen that were collecting it looked kind of suspicious. And they had a bucket with a sign taped to it that said next year's show. We might have just donated to their recreation fund for the night. I don't know. May have been just that. But, you know, it wasn't a problem because all we gave was a couple dollars because that's how you give in a crowd. You don't give sacrificially in a crowd. I do that. Just give a little bit, what I got, you know. And you don't come to a crowd to give. You come to a crowd to take. I was there for the show. And, you know, my grand idea for avoiding the traffic jam, because I had one. I always have a plan. You know, I'm always thinking. My grand idea is, you know, when the finale's taking place, we'll leave about 3/4 of the way through the finale. And while they're all still staring at the fireworks, I will be coasting down the road back to my chair and my book. And, you know, it worked out just that way. Worked out just that way. It wasn't the end, but that doesn't matter. When you're part of the crowd, you came for the show, and you get there when you want to, and you leave when you want to. You don't get to tell me when to show. I'm just part of the crowd. Just here for that. It's about you and what you want to do. So I was in a field with 200 people, more than, probably 300, for over 2 hours or so, but they didn't know me. I didn't know them. My family and I were part of a crowd, but we weren't part of a community. Do you know that today too many people view church as a crowd activity, but not community? Because the crowd just comes to watch, but the community comes to contribute. They're there in the prayer room before the service starts. They're there when the first drum beat of the song hits. They linger in the altar when it's all over. They're there in the preaching, making sure that people know I'm in this. I love God. I love the word. They're there for that. They come to build the fire that the crowd comes to enjoy. They didn't just come from the fishes and the loaves. They didn't just come for the benefits and the thrills and the chills. When it's time to go to work, they're there for that too. They're the first in line to give their time and their talent to make sure that when Sunday comes, excellence is on display. I got to tell you this morning that this wouldn't be nothing if God didn't breathe on this. What we walked into this morning, it wouldn't be anything if the presence of God didn't show up. But I need you to know there was teams that was a part of making this happen this morning. There was a guest experience team out in that foyer. There was a children's ministry team next door. There's a media and a tech team. There was a worship team. There was a ministry team. There's a nursery team. There's a community that says, you know what? I know that if God doesn't do it, we got nothing, but I'm going to put something out there that God can breathe on and bless. That's community stuff. That's community stuff. The crowd looks for opportunities to avoid people. You know, the phrase is crowded in here is usually not a compliment. What we mean is people are all up in our space and they're annoying us. When you're in a crowded line at the grocery store, the people in front of you are an inconvenience. I just want them to leave. Just get your stuff and go so I can move out the way so I can get what I came for. But people are core to the mission of community. People are part of the reason we're here. Community moves towards people. You know, I know what we mean when somebody stands in a pulpit and says something like this, a worship leader or a preacher, when they say, I didn't come here to see you, I came to see God. I know what we mean by that. What they're trying to do is get you to move past reservations you might have and stop worrying so much about what people around you are thinking so you can come to an altar. But can I tell you, at the bottom of it, that statement is very incomplete. I didn't come to see you. Well, as a matter of fact, I came to see God first, but I also came to see you. I came here for him first, but I also came to pray with you. I came for him first, but I also came to comfort, encourage, and to meet with you. I came for both of those things. I'm looking first to please him, but I also want to know you. I want to know you. I want to know him, but I want to get to know you. We're not being spiritual when we're content to ignore other people. That's not true. We're not being spiritual when we're unconcerned about people and where they're at in their lives. The Bible says that if we don't love people we can see, how can we love God whom we cannot see? And God is saying that the treatment of the people around you is absolutely a proof text for the quality of your relationship with me. According to Scripture, part of the evidence that we really love God is that we actively love the people he placed us in community with. And if we're really being honest, it's really hard to develop deep, meaningful relationships with each other, to really actively love and support each other if all we do is say hi and bye before and after services on Sunday morning or Monday. Really hard to do that. If all that happens, what we have are surface level relationships. And that's a great place to start when it comes to community, but it's a terrible place to stay when it comes to community. You have to start at surface level to develop deep, meaningful relationships. But if you stay there, you're not going to experience the benefits and the blessings of real community. And here's the problem with staying on the surface. You don't take problems that are this deep to relationships that are this deep. You don't do that. And life will present you challenges that are, and you don't take those to relationships that are, you just don't do it. I'll prove it to you. When's the last time someone that you barely knew, that you just said hi to every once in a while, came to you and said, you know, I know that we never talk, but my marriage is in trouble. In fact, I'm afraid that he or she is ready to leave me at any time. I don't know what to do. I'm embarrassed. I'm depressed. I'm ashamed. And I almost can't lift up my head in this place this morning. I just barely made it this morning. Can you please tell me something that gives me a shred of hope or direction? No. You got to do a lot of developing to get a relationship. You don't take that to. You don't do that. When's the last time that somebody you barely knew said, hey, I know you don't know me, but my kid is completely out of control, and my spouse and I have tried everything we know to do, and they're not getting better, they're getting worse, and I feel like I'm the worst parent on the face of the earth, and again, I'm at the bottom of the barrel, I don't know what to do, I'm out of options. Can you please just tell me I'm not as bad as I feel like I am in this moment? All I do is go around and cry. When's the last time somebody told you that you just, every now and again, you just, no, that's, but you don't take that to. When's the last time somebody you barely knew that you just waved at from time to time said, hey, I know we don't know each other really well, but my doctor just called me and he gave me a cancer diagnosis, and I believe God, but I'm also scared out of my mind. I got a family to support. I don't know how I'm going to do this. They're talking chemo and treatments. I don't even know what that means. Can you just take a moment to pray with me or just talk with me or just tell me something, because right now I feel like I'm about to lose my mind. When's the last time that happens in the context of all we do is just see you? No, that's, you don't take that. But here's the issue. People walk around with all of that and worse floating through their minds and hearts. All. But everywhere they look, it's only this. So they walk around going, who can I talk to? Who can I tell? Who will help me? Who can I talk to? And the answer for a lot of them is nobody. So they walk around with all that inside their heart. But you know, that really goes back to the choice I told you about, where you can stay out there. You can stay if you want to, because community is hard work. And when times are good, you don't need them. You can just go do your own thing, and I feel fine. But I promise you, one day the rain's going to fall, and the storm clouds are going to come. And if you haven't, you will wish you had built some relationships on the solid rock of Christ Jesus that are deep enough that you can go to somebody. Community isn't just for comfort. Not if you're a Christian. Community is also the place where discipleship takes place. Because community is the place where discussion takes place. And discussion is a huge part of discipleship. Did you know that some of the most amazing revelations of the Bible did not come in a sermon? A lot of them did. But some of the most amazing ones came in the course of discussion. Let me give you an example. Jesus wasn't preaching when he said to his disciples, "Who do people say that the Son of Man is?" He's having a discussion. He's asking for input. He's saying, "What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Give me your input." And one of them said, "Well, they think you're John the Baptist come back from the dead." Another one pipes up and says, "Well, I've heard Elijah." Another one said, "Well, I heard you're Isaiah come back. You're some kind of prophet." He's having a discussion, group discussion. But he doesn't end it there. He asks them, "Well, who do you say that I am?" Discussion. What's your opinion? What do you think? All of a sudden, out of discussion comes a mighty revelation. Simon Peter replied, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." And Jesus said, "Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood did not reveal this to you." But do you know flesh and blood could have revealed it to him? Because Jesus was standing right there in the flesh, and he could have told him. He knew that. This is the question, why initiate the discussion? Well, did you know there's a lot of ways to help people learn? Telling them stuff is only one way, giving them information. Sometimes it's just as effective to ask the right question and let the Spirit of God inside of them give the right answer. Sometimes people are more impacted by what they tell you than what you tell them. One of the things I've learned across 2 decades of fatherhood is this: a two-way discussion is sometimes better than a one-way lecture when I'm looking to see change. My parenting became more effective when I listened and I learned that sometimes, you know what? Sometimes they're more motivated to set the goals that they set for themselves and not the ones that I set for them. Sometimes I learned that, you know what? Sometimes I need to hear from them and where they're at. Sometimes if I give them every answer, it robs them of the opportunity to have personal growth in themselves when they come to it by themselves in the course of a discussion. Now, don't miss it. There are times when they absolutely need to be quiet and listen to me talk. There's times for lectures. There's things you won't get outside of the preached word of God. But there are some times for discussion. Powerful development takes place during discussion. So communities for comfort, communities for discipleship. Lastly, communities also for accountability. Accountability. Mark chapter 6, Jesus sends out his disciples 2 by 2 in pairs, and he tells them, "Go preach. Go minister to the people. Go pray for people. Go cast out demons. Heal the sick. Do all the stuff that I've anointed and appointed you to do." But when they got back, one of the first things Jesus did was call another one of those group discussions. The Bible says the apostles gathered to Jesus and told him all things, both what they had done and what they had taught. And in my mind, this is how that conversation went. "Now, fellas, I gave you authority. I gave you instruction. Now tell me what you did with it. I want to know what you've been doing. Did you act on the instructions that I gave you?" Because, see, in the big setting, you get direction. When you come on Sunday, you get to hear a word from the Lord, from our pastors or whoever they decided to have in this pulpit. But just because the message was amazing doesn't mean we all run out the doors and go right to application. Doesn't mean that. In fact, without some help, without some things like 1 in 21 that our pastor was just talking about, sometimes we have the unfortunate tendency to settle for being hearers of the word, but not doers of the word. So the disciples had great potential, and they had this great anointing. They had great instruction, but Jesus calls them back together to make sure that they're putting all the potential they had into action. He does in a small group what we don't have time to do on Sundays in a large group, because we can't come off the pulpit after the message the next week and go, "Now, last week's message, a case for commitment. What has that meant to you in your life this week?" To every single person, go around the room. "Now, we had a great message on soul winning, and now we all know we need to go find somebody and help win them to the Lord. Now, how has that been with you this week? We don't have time. But you can do in a small group what you can't do in a large group. You can go around and you can say, how's it going for you? What are some areas that you're strong in? And then you can also choose to get vulnerable enough, and these are the powerful moments in small group, to get vulnerable enough and say, you know what, there's also some areas that I'm weak in. There's some places I've been regressing. Can't do that. Can't do that in the big setting. You could do that in the small setting. That's why when God formed the New Testament church, and we're coming to a close here in just a minute, when God formed the New Testament church in Jerusalem in the book of Acts, he gave them two basic systems for meeting. Not one, but two. They were to come to the temple a couple times a week for prayer and worship and word, and that was a large gathering where they would get direction, and there would be deep impartation, and the gifts of the Spirit would move and flow, and the man of God would impart direction along with a lot of other things that happen best in big settings. But that wasn't the only one. They were also to meet in homes throughout the week, to break bread together, to share, to discuss, to talk about their lives, to engage in real community. It wasn't one. It was two, and God knew we needed both. It wasn't either or. We needed both. Well, wouldn't you know it, in our desire to be like the early church, Porva has adopted a similar system. So we come for large gatherings on Sunday and Monday, and we hear the word, and God moves in powerful, powerful ways. But also several months throughout the year, you all know it, we meet in small groups all throughout the city in homes to laugh, to eat, to discuss, to disciple each other, to encourage each other. Now, this is where all of this has come down to. So if you liked all the rest of this, and I hope you did, please plug in for the next few minutes because it was all for this. Today, in just a few minutes, you're going to be able to go to the group page, small group page, and actually register to be a part of a small group. We're going to open that in just a few minutes. Listen to me, I'm going to give you some instructions, and then we're going to do some things together. You've got over 15 opportunities to choose a different home group. That's 15 different leaders that have said, I want to know you. I want to pray for you. I want to discuss things with you. I want to give you an opportunity to know some other people that want to know you, and they're going to support you, encourage you, surround you. 15 different opportunities. Their pictures are in the handout that you received today when you came in. They're also on the screen behind me, or they will be in just a minute. We have groups that are placed all throughout our city. We got them on the north side. We got them on the south side, west end, east end. We got them all over the place. You know, we even have groups that will be meeting here on our campus in a mask-always setting. Nobody will ever take their mask off, and they'll meet in big open rooms for people that would prefer to meet that way. You have a lot of options, but as I said earlier, community's it's always a choice. You can't force it on anybody. You have to choose it. You have to see the value in this. You have to say, yes, this is something that I want to do. So the end of today's service is a little different if our musicians will come. Our primary focus today is action. We came together today to make an action together. We came together to register for these groups, and I hope they're full by the time that we leave this sanctuary in a few minutes. I hope they're full. We came for action. Let me tell you what the devil does anytime a sermon is based on action. He don't try to talk you out of taking that action eventually. He tries to talk you out of taking that action right now. Because he knows that if you walk out those doors, the longer you wait to act on the word, the higher the chances that you never will. So we're going to take that tactic away from him this morning. In just a few minutes, we're going to send you a registration link. And you can go right, if you're part of our text updates, when I start to pray, you're going to get a link that hits your phone. If you're not, there's going to be a web address up here. You can go to porva.church/groups. You can also scan the QR code that's in the front of that bulletin, and you can immediately go to our registration page, and you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait. I'm going to pray, and then our team's going to come, and they're going to sing, and we're going to ask you not to leave your seats for a few minutes. You don't need to come this way to the altar today, although we'll certainly meet you for prayer after this is done if you want special prayer. But we're wanting you to stay right there. Look at these groups, and while you're in this moment, while you understand, hopefully, I pray to God, the value of community, go ahead and make a decision right now while you're in your clearest mind. I want to pray with you, and then we're gonna do that. There's the link, there's the address right there, porva.church/groups. You can go there. As soon as I start praying, a link's gonna come to your phone. You can scan the QR code in the front of that bulletin. I just want to pray for you. God, thank you for the gift that you gave us when you gave us each other, Lord. Thank you for the ways that you not only move sovereignly by your Spirit, but so many times you choose to move through your people, that you bless and you strengthen through your people. I'm asking that right now, God, you would begin to divinely lead people in this setting to the groups that they need to be a part of in the upcoming months. God, you've got specific things that you want to say through specific discussion that they're going to have. They're going to need the people, Lord, that you plan to surround them with in this day, in this time. I'm asking, God, that you would give them direction, revelation. I'm asking you, God, that you would bless these groups and move in them in a mighty way. I ask these things in Jesus' name.